It's January 19th, 2008, on the outskirts of Paris. A 31-year-old man stands outside of the bank where he works, and he sends a message to his boss.
I don't know if I'm gonna come back or throw myself under a train.
Inside, the bank executives wait for his confession. For nearly 3 years, he's been secretly placing trades on the futures market, where traders bet on the future price of commodities. But his most recent trade has lost the bank $7.2 billion. In addition to 3 years in prison, he'll be ordered to pay back all the money he lost, making him the most indebted man in human history. Across the English Channel, another trader has capitalized on his mistake.
You are watching Disrupt.
In a concrete building above a public restroom sits a modest trading firm. At a desk in the far corner of the office, a man wearing bright red construction headphones holds his face inches from his monitor. Online, he's known as
Fugazi.
He's a trader of the S&P 500 E-mini, a futures contract that tracks the index of the 500 largest companies on the New York Stock Exchange. Right now, the global financial crisis is gaining speed. Traders are selling their positions to avoid further losses. Volatility is growing, and markets are plummeting. Except for one, the DAX. The German index is rising. While everyone is selling, DAX futures contracts are still being bought, keeping its market afloat. Fugazi sees an opportunity. He pins down that this rise in the DAX is a result of one single buyer holding up the market. And this someone has a lot of money, but it's just one buyer. So there's a bubble. Fugazi bets $15 million that, like all the other markets, the DAX will fall. He doesn't mind taking such risks because he isn't trading for the money. He made $400,000 the previous year, but he lives with his parents in Hounslow, a working-class borough beside Heathrow Airport. Their house is a modest 2-story with a plastic porch. He dresses in tracksuit pants and cheap sweaters. He eats filet of fish from McDonald's. He hardly withdraws the money he earns. He only keeps it in his bank to watch it add up like a high score. In addition to being a mathematical savant, he's also a competitive FIFA player. For him, trading is a video game, and in this game, the best player wins. In a few days, the DAX crashes. Into Fugazi's account goes $1 million. As one man in France hears the door of his jail cell slam shut, another man in England rides his rickety motorcycle down an unlit empty street, suddenly a millionaire.
Get back. I'm alright, Jack. Keep your hands off of my stack. Money.
Fugazi's winnings continue to pile up. He quits the trading firm and moves his computer into his bedroom. Like climbing levels in a video game, the more money he makes, the bigger trades he puts down. And come November, when the S&P 500 is at its lowest in over a decade, Fugazi makes his biggest bet yet. While financial experts are all anticipating markets to crash, Fugazi bets that the US market will rise. Sure enough, in late November, the Federal Reserve announces it will inject $800 billion into the financial system to speed up the flow of credit. Markets rally, and Fugazi rides the wave, earning himself another $15 million. Fugazi is now a big-time trader during the worst economic conditions in 80 years. But the game doesn't get easier. Another player has joined. High-frequency trading algorithms allow automated systems to buy and sell faster than any human ever could, down to millionths of a second. Their speed lets them buy stock and resell them before any human can buy, pocketing the tiny profit. They make these transactions hundreds of thousands of times a day. Firms wielding this HFT technology are making hundreds of millions of dollars each year. To Fugazi, high-frequency trading is playing with cheat codes. Billion-dollar firms on Wall Street are turning futures trading into a play-to-win game. On trading forums, Fugazi rails against Wall Street, against the Chicago Mercantile Exchange overseeing the futures market. In June 2009, he decides if the only way to win is to play their game, he'll make sure the best trader still wins. He designs his own high-frequency trading algorithm, taking an off-the-shelf trading software package and customizing it to distort other traders' views of supply and demand on the market. This lets him buy cheap contracts and sell them at higher prices. He does this using a trick called
spoofing.
His algorithm allows him to flood the market with fake orders and then quickly cancel them, artificially driving the price of a contract up or down in the direction he wants them to go. With his recent earnings, he has the capital to nudge the United States futures market in the direction he wants. And he does this all from his bedroom. But there's one problem. Spoofing is illegal. One day, Fugazi receives a warning from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They notice he was using software to delete massive amounts of orders before they could be finalized. They recommend he play by the rules. Every day, Fugazi watched other traders use the same tactics with seemingly no consequences. He ignores their warning. With his algorithm, he's easily making $500,000, almost double the value of his parents' house, every day. So for now, he's winning. May 5th, 2010, Athens, Greece. 3 employees are found dead in a burnt wreckage of Marfin Bank during a nationwide protest over spending cuts, tax increases, and corruption. Greece and other European countries are at risk of defaulting on their debt. The financial future of the entire European Union is in danger. The next morning, the fear index, which engages the emotions of investors in their anticipation of disaster, is the highest it's been in years. At 3:20 p.m., Fugazi boots up his PC. He sees the opportunity of a lifetime. The global futures market is going to fall. Someone just needs to push it over the edge. He's just one trader, but with the wealth he has amassed, his account would be heavy enough to push the next domino in the line. At 3:25 p.m., he pumps the market with $120 million worth of spoofed sell orders. p.m. The market tumbles 39 points. Greek protesters clash with riot police. The price of the euro plummets. 5:17 p.m. Fugazi spoofs even more sell orders, totaling $200 million worth of contracts. The global market tumbles further. 6:33 p.m. Fugazi continues to spoof, reaching 18.5 million sell orders, an estimated value of $3.4 billion. 7:09 p.m. The U.S. futures market falls 361 points. Traders frantically sell what they have so they're not left holding the bag. 7:40 p.m. Fugazi's mother calls him to dinner, so he signs off. In only a few hours, he's made $950,000. Not a bad day.
If it keeps on raining, love is gonna break. If it keeps on raining, love is going to break. When the levee breaks,
7:41 p.m. Just 1 minute later, Armageddon. The U.S. futures market falls off a cliff. Around the world, a sea of red flashes across traders' screens. The Dow plummets faster than at any point in its 114-year history. Traders rush to sell whatever is left of their contracts. Stocks plummet along with futures. Media commentators are left stunned. Markets are going haywire. Stocks keep dropping. Nothing is holding. In just 5 minutes, $1 trillion in value is erased from the American stock market. And just 4 minutes later, everything stops. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange has pushed the emergency stop button. For 5 long seconds, the world watches as the US financial system is frozen in time. The US market eventually starts to bounce back once trading resumes. With prices so low, traders start buying back the contracts they were desperate to sell seconds ago. As the stock market is saved from bottoming out, the world breathes again. But for 36 minutes, the American financial system almost collapsed. And no one knows why. A month later, Fugazi receives another email from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. His software has been flagged again. They remind him to enter transactions in good faith. He responds,
Kiss my ass.
February 2013, Washington, D.C. A case lands at the desk of an investigator at the Commodity Trading Futures Commission's Division of Enforcement. She's somewhat new to the role, but she's a natural at it. She doesn't know this case will define her career. An anonymous whistleblower claims he found evidence of a single entity committing massive market manipulation right before the flash crash. Could the near collapse of the US economy really be caused by one trader? Ever since the crash, government regulators have been in the hot seat. The public believes the US government has lost control of its markets. Underfunded and obstructed by HFT firm lobbyists, the entire structure of the US financial system seems to have shifted underneath regulators' feet without them noticing. Their investigation into the flash crash proved ineffectual. The CFTC and SEC drafted a 104-page report that cited the cause of the flash crash to simply be an imbalance of sell and buy orders contributing to liquidity dislocation. Few people buy this explanation. Theories run wild. One popular theory is that HFTs helped cause the flash crash. HFT algorithms are designed to make trades quickly. They don't hold contracts for a long time. When HFTs started selling their contracts, they sold them to other HFTs, who then unloaded those contracts to other HFTs, and so on. A vicious game of hot potato flashed across the world every few seconds. The innumerable sell orders plummeted prices. When prices got too low, the HFTs were designed to pull out of the market. This reduced liquidity, which only further dropped prices of contracts. Repeat this cycle and the market was autopiloted off a ravine. But this doesn't explain what caused so many HFTs to sell so rapidly. If the HFTs are gasoline, someone had to light the match. The investigator weighs her options. Not only does she have to prove that the suspect committed market manipulation, but she must also find evidence that the suspect did so with clear intentions. It's difficult to charge a trader with spoofing. There are very few guilt verdicts in court. The CFTC is subject to a 5-year statute of limitations, which means the investigator only has roughly 2 years to carry out an extensive investigation. The clock is ticking. Her supervisor doesn't want her to waste limited resources on a crapshoot. Additionally, the CFTC's report mentioned no market manipulation as the cause of the flash crash. If she brought this case to trial, it would put her employer in a bad light. She does a deep dive into the data. The suspect has canceled and modified their orders 182,000 times, corresponding to $35 trillion worth of trades, double the size of the current US GDP. According to the whistleblower, the investigator was looking at the biggest spoofer that has ever traded. The suspect must be one of the biggest S&P futures trading firms in the world, a Wall Street titan. Against her supervisor's wishes and at the risk of her career with the CFTC, the investigator accepts the case. When she finds on Google Maps the location where the trades are executed, she's not taken to Wall Street, but a semi-detached house in a suburb west of London. The CFTC can't exercise a search warrant outside of the US. They can't gather evidence against the suspect. So for a while, the investigation stalls. Until the investigator gets an idea. She decides to reach out to the suspect personally. In November 2013, Fugazi receives an email from the CFTC. It's a strange request. Oftentimes, regulators aren't interested in a trader's methods unless they're suspecting of something illegal. But by now, he's made over $65 million from trading. It's no surprise to him that even the CFTC has him on their radar. Fugazi sees this as an opportunity. For years, he's issued complaints about HFT firms and their cheating. Now that he's built up the capital and reputation of a big league trader, he now has the CFTC's ear. He eventually responds. He boasts about his trading abilities, his success. He touches briefly on the rudimentary software he uses, making sure to omit any mention of spoofing tactics. He gives the CFTC enough evidence to show that if he was ever accused of market manipulation, he's smart enough to do so with clear intention. Fugazi writes that he hopes the CFTC finds the HFT traders who are cheating and brings them to justice. Unbeknownst to him, that is just what the investigator intends to do. Fugazi's response gives the investigator enough evidence to show that he's smart enough to know that he's cheating. It's enough to get a judge in Chicago to issue a search warrant for Fugazi's emails from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They find more evidence of Fugazi's market manipulation. Email of him using the exact word spoofing to describe his tactics. The investigator works with a team of researchers around the clock. They can't yet prove that Fugazi caused the flash crash, but they can build a case that Fugazi, with the amount of money he's illegally collecting, is one of the most dangerous traders in the world.
When the midnight into the wee small office. Long for the break of dawn.
April 2015, Hounslow, West London. At 8 a.m., Fugazi is awoken by the sound of his father's voice. He must come downstairs immediately. With baggy track pants and bedhead, Fugazi descends the stairs to find a mob of police officers and 2 FBI agents waiting for him at his front door. An officer tells him he's under arrest for wire fraud, commodities manipulation, and spoofing. As he's led away in handcuffs, he turns to one of the officers escorting him. Fugazi wants to head back upstairs and record a football match before he leaves. The officer tells him he won't get a chance to watch it for a while. In a 6 by 10 foot stone-walled cell, Fugazi hears the door slam shut behind him. Late into the night, Fugazi snaps out of his trance. He's experiencing extreme sleep deprivation. The on-call psychiatrist diagnosed Fugazi with high-scale Asperger's syndrome. His sensitivity to the harsh prison lights and incessant noise keep him from sleeping. The judge of the Westminster Magistrates Court issued a $6 million bail for his release, but the CFTC deemed him a flight risk and freezed his available liquid assets. He thought he would be detained for only a few hours. He's been locked in a cell 23 hours a day for 8 weeks. He hears a strange noise. Across the plastic sheet dividing his half of the cell from his cellmate's half, there's a low groan and pounding against the metal bunk. Fugazi peers around the sheet. His cellmate is hanging himself. Fugazi tumbles through the sheet and holds his cellmate up by his thrashing legs, screaming for the guards. Around him, inmates rattle the bars. Fugazi worries if he doesn't get out of here soon, he might break. In the outside world, headlines of Fugazi's arrests reach world news sites. Public opinion is torn. To some, Fugazi's a scapegoat. One man with a cheap PC and a broadband connection cannot be responsible for taking down the US equities market. Why aren't regulators going after big HFT firms? Why did it take them 5 years to deliver charges? To others, especially day traders, pushed out by HFTs, Fugazi is a hero. He's just one man taking on the billion-dollar firms, playing their own game. And he was beating them. The CFTC and the Department of Justice are dealing with their own dilemma. How much should they attribute the flash crash to Fugazi's illegal trading? Some officials argue that pinning everything on him would only weaken their case. Others wanted to send a message to illegal traders. The Department of Justice eventually releases an indictment. Fugazi's trading was a cause, among other factors, of the flash crash. So headlines run with a story. Fugazi is now the flash crash trader.
I've got a troubling mind. I've got a troubling mind. I've got a troubling mind.
News pundits and financial experts argue how much of a role Fugazi truly had. The hashtag #FreeNav is trending on Twitter. Meanwhile, in the prison's meeting room, Fugazi's lawyers give him 3 options. To make the $6 million bail, he can 1. Find a way to convince the CFTC to unfreeze his assets, 2. Persuade the judge to lower his bail, or 3. Find a new way to come up with $6 million. Fugazi and his lawyers consider option 3. In order to get enough money for bail, his lawyers have to find where Fugazi has been keeping the rest of his $70 million. It is here Fugazi reveals that, for years, he's been building an empire.
Well, all's not well, but I'm told that it'll all be quite nice. You'll be drowned in boots like mafia, but your feet'll still float like Christ. Well, I'll be damned.
Fugazi has hardly spent a cent of his fortune. His accountant warned him that he'd need to find a way to avoid the mound of taxes he'd have to pay the British government. He introduced Fugazi to associates who claimed they could invest his money where the government couldn't touch it, for a fee. Fugazi, without much research into the matter, accepted. The vast majority of his fortune flowed around the world. Land for wind farms in Scotland, trust funds in the Cayman Islands, scuba exploration in the Atlantic Ocean, shell corporations in Anguilla, an online gambling platform. $32 million of Fugazi's money was funneled into a corporation in Mexico, whose services ranged from asset management to private school advisory. As his lawyers track down his investments and try to recoup the funds, chaos is already in full swing. When word reached these companies about Fugazi's arrest, they panicked. Investors withdrew their money, businesses folded. Other investors and fund managers simply tell the lawyers they lost all of the money. The lawyers can't find much. Suddenly, the multi-million-dollar fortune Fugazi has built is gone. He doesn't have enough money to post bail. Fugazi will remain imprisoned. The lawyers present the situation to the magistrate court. Seeing that Fugazi has no access to his money, his bail is dropped to $60,000. On August 14, 2015, after 4 months in jail, Fugazi steps outside the prison entrance. He rides a taxi back to his parents' house in the rain. Across the Atlantic Ocean, the CFTC and Department of Justice wait. Since Fugazi's crimes were conducted on the US market, they want to extradite him to the US. With a mountain of evidence against him, he faces a long trial and potentially
380 years
in prison. His only hope is to avoid extradition. To the judge, his lawyers point at the CFTC's flimsy evidence linking Fugazi to the flash crash. How could anyone across the ocean with a slow internet connection bring down the most powerful country's financial market? The judge knows that if Fugazi is not extradited, he cannot be prosecuted in the United Kingdom. If he stays, he'll walk away a free man. On March 23, 2016, the judge extradites him to the United States. For Fugazi, it's game over. November 7th, 2016, Chicago. The week of the presidential election. In a 30-story glass building, Fugazi and his lawyers sit across the table from the CFTC team who caught him. They discuss how the trial will likely go down. The entire process will likely take multiple years, for which Fugazi will spend in a Chicago prison, much worse than the one in the UK. By then, his money will be completely drained and he'll be represented by a public defender. The evidence against him is already overwhelming. He'll likely lose and spend the rest of his life in prison. Fugazi's fate seems sealed before the trial even begins. One of his lawyers proposes a second option. Fugazi pleads guilty to only 2 of the 20 counts. In return, he helps the United States government fill the gaps in their knowledge about electronic trading and catch the illegal traders in the market. After deliberation, the CFTC agrees to the deal, but if Fugazi fails to bring any illegal traders, they will take him to trial. To Fugazi, there is still a game to play. In a conference room surrounded by FBI agents and CFTC investigators, he sits in front of a large TV and shows them how to play. Each second, incessant numbers flash across the screen. Each number a trade, flashing too fast for anyone to keep up. Except Fugazi. He's able to pin down trade after trade, showing the agents which traders were cheating using the same spoofing tactics he used. After a few days of these sessions, Fugazi has given them not only a crash course on how to spot cheating, but a hit list of cheating traders, hedge funds, and even HFT firms, the ones he had so despised. On the last day, the FBI takes him to dinner at a local upscale restaurant. Feeling as though he earned it, Fugazi orders a steak. In court, he pleads guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of spoofing. The Justice Department vouches for Fugazi. They ask the judge for an easy sentence. The judge sentences Fugazi to 1 year of house arrest. In February of 2020, just as the world enters lockdown, Fugazi arrives back at his parents' home, where it all started. With $70 million and such a sharp mind, one would assume Fugazi squirreled away at least a scrap of his fortune. But after his trial, his lifestyle remains the same. He still lives with his parents, cycles through his neighborhood on a yellow bicycle, and eats at the local McDonald's.